start out this video just by quickly mentioning 3 YouTube channels and a rod builder on Facebook. The first one is Corey. He's at Backwoods Ways is the YouTube channel. He does a lot of tournament fishing. I ran into Corey at Beaver Lake in northwest Arkansas when me and my family were out there fishing. I noticed he had a camera and a bunch of equipment. Looked like he was recording while he was fishing. He had a really nice kayak set up. So I stopped him and pestered him for a few minutes just asking. I told him I'd give him a mention, and I'm just now getting around to it, so I apologize for that. I did want to mention his channel. If you want to check it out, I'll put a link down in the description below. Also wanted to introduce some people to Palo Fishing. Sam over there does some rod building videos, and they're very good videos. In fact, one of the tips I'm going to share with y'all comes directly from one of his videos, and I'll be sure to mention which tip it is. And I'm also going to put a link to their YouTube channel in the description below. It's a channel I'm sure that will continue to grow. It's just getting started. So if anybody could go over there and support them and just tell them I sent you over there, I'd really appreciate it. I can tell for rod builders, this is going to be a channel you're going to want to tune into. Also wanted to mention Casual Carolina Fishing. He's been a big supporter of my channel and a lot of other YouTube channels. He's always commenting. He's always watching people's videos. This is the kind of person you want supporting your channel. So I just wanted to give him some support for his own channel and give him a mention here. Bill runs the channel and he does a lot of catfishing, but I also think he's just as happy catching ditch pickles also. So I just wanted to send people his way. Be sure to let them know I sent you over there if you go check him out. Also wanted to mention a Facebook page called Jimmy's Custom Hot Rods. And Jimmy builds fishing rods and he does an excellent job. He does some really nice looking work. He introduced me to his Facebook page on one of my videos where he mentioned that he was using one of the decorative wraps that I came up with. And it kind of goes back to what I said in the video, that somebody that's more artistic than I could do more with the decorative wrap than what I'm able to do. He does some really neat work with them, the spiral wraps that I came up with. So I thought I'd give him a mention, and maybe you want to go check out some of his work on his Facebook page. And if you go check any of these guys out, please let them know that I was steering people their way. I want them to know that their comments and what they do on their channels is appreciated. Both of the tips I want to share with you today involve using rubber bands for holding your guides to your rod blank temporarily while you get your wrap started. And I'm also going to show you a way you can use this technique to actually help you start your wraps themselves, but I'll get to that here in a little bit. All I'm doing here is just taking a complete rubber band, wrapping it around the rod blank and passing one end through the other side of the rubber band and cinching it down really tight. You can cinch this down as tight as you want to, as long as it's not so tight it breaks the rubber band. The tighter you cinch it down, the less wiggle room you're going to have with your guide. Then all you have to do is take your tag in and pull up on it to pull the rubber band away from the blank enough to where you can slide the guide foot up under the rubber band. There's enough friction and tension with the rubber band that it's not going to loosen itself back up unless you want it to. Now this is how you can use this technique to also help you hold your tag in for your thread in order to get your guide wrap started. With a single foot guide, you can use it like a pivot, where you can rock the front of the leg up high enough that you can slide the thread up under it, and it will hold the thread like a clamp while you get your guide wrap started. Now that's a pretty handy trick if you ask me. I'm sure somebody else has come up with that before I did, but to me it just seemed like a logical thing to do. Slide the thread up under the guide and use the rubber band and the guide together as a clamp for the thread. You can do the same thing with a cut rubber band. Just use the tag ends and pass those through the loop on the other side of the rod and cinch it down tight. What I like about this technique is that the clamp is already installed in place before you ever put the guide on. That makes it real easy to position your clamps where you think they need to be, and then just pull it up and slide your guide foot underneath it. It's simple, it's easy to do, and you got plenty of wiggle room. If you need to move your guide around some, you can do that with this technique. But now let me show you another technique I'd never seen before, and I found this on Palo Fishing channel on YouTube, and I will have a link to their channel down in the description so you can go check their channel out. And Sam over there was showing how he uses rubber bands to wrap his guides on temporarily, and this method is so strong that you can actually load test the rod using this technique, In fact, in one of his videos, he even mentions that it's so strong you could probably fish with it that way if you had to. He wasn't recommending it. He was just saying that's how strong that the guides are on there. So with the guides wrapped that tightly, it's real easy to do your load testing this way. And I really like it because of that. It's not quite as simple as the way I'd like to do them. But if you're wanting to do load testing and things before you actually wrap your guides, this would be the way I'd recommend to do that, because the guides are really on there tight when you get this done. Sam does this a lot quicker than I can because he's done it more than I have. But basically what you're doing is taking a cut rubber band and passing the tag in through one of the legs of the guide, and you're going to hold the rubber band while you put a few wraps over it and kind of lock that tag in down. And you're going to pull it really tight while you're wrapping wraps around the guide and the rod together. When you get to the end of the wrapping, however many wraps you want to put on it, I believe he recommends 3 or 4. When you get to that point, you wrap one over your index finger, and then you cut the tag in short enough to where you can just use your finger to roll the rubber band off of your finger over that tag in, and between the friction and the tension, it will lock that tag in down. And once you're done, it is really on there. It is really tight. It's almost as tight as having it wrapped with thread. And even though it's wrapped on there so tightly, because of the pivot and the fulcrum effect you get here, you get a lever effect with the single foot guide foot, and you can do the same thing I showed you earlier. You can rock that guide up just enough to slide your thread up under there, and it will clamp down your tag end of your thread as you start your guide wraps. If you like that technique I showed you earlier, it works just as well with this method of wrapping. Plus you can do your load testing. So it's a pretty good way to do this. It is a little more complicated, but it's not too bad, and I have a feeling the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. That's all I've got for now, y'all. If you like this sort of thing, if you're into rod building, if you're into vintage fishing reels, that's kind of what mostly I focus on my channel. Be sure to check some of the other videos I've got out. And if you don't mind, please go check out these other guys. They're doing things on their channel. I'd really appreciate it if you go check out what they're doing. And I'll talk to y'all later.